Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Lonnie, and this is a very exciting night because tonight is the first ever late review from Barely Passing Product, and it's going to be a pretty good one. I've made it very obvious and very clear from the beginning that I'm a fan of professional wrestling, and most recently I've been telling you guys about my love for Halloween, so I thought, what better way than to celebrate the two of them and go out and get a movie that I've never seen until last night for the first time ever and give my opinions about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is See No Evil, starring Kane from the WWE. It came out in 2006, and I gotta be honest, I wasn't all that excited to go see it. Wasn't really anything that looked too terribly good. And after last night, I know why. This movie sucks. This is absolutely terrible. On the back here it says, sick-tastic. It's sick, alright. It's sick that a movie like this could ever get made. Let me tell you about this movie, guys. Stars Kane. Now, if you went, first of all, to the theater and saw this, I'm so sorry for you, but let's jump right in. First of all, we start off with two police officers who go answer a call to a house that people have been hearing screams and all this other that. So they go in to investigate. They come across a woman on the floor, just writhing, holding her face, and one officer goes down to check on her, the other moves to the back. He immediately gets slaughtered as an axe-wielding maniac comes from behind and just, bam, right to his head. The officer on the floor turns to see, and out comes the killer. Axe goes up, he tries to block, he loses his arm. He loses his left arm, and he pops off a shot, shooting the guy somewhere in his face. The killer runs off, and we see the hand that falls to the floor holding a flashlight conveniently shines to the girl who ran off, and her eyes have been missing. Hence the name of the title of the movie, See No Evil. It's kind of a religious type thing that he's doing this stuff for. So we cut from that to be 4 years later, and he has a whole new job. He's got a prosthetic arm now, and his new job is the movement of these detention center people from, their prison to this program that they're going to be taking part of. And here's where we meet our cast of characters. We meet Russell Wolf, Richie Burnson, Christy Zarate, Zoe Warner, Michael Murdoch, Michael Montrose, my apologies, Kira Vanning, Tyson Sims, Melissa Boudreau, and it seems they all have a knack for taking mugshots and breaking fourth wall, as each name that pops up, they immediately and smile when their name comes up. So we're introduced to these four people. We learned that Kira and Michael had a little something. They used to work together, and he apparently beat the shit out of her. And that's pretty much almost all we learn. Zoe is a thief, and she steals. I don't know, it's not too interesting. They drive off, and they reach their destination, which is a place called the Blackwell Hotel, and they are met by an elderly woman named Margaret, who lets them in and tells them of their job. The program, apparently, is that they are to come to this hotel, and they're going to help renovate, clean, and all that good stuff, so that for 3 days worth of work, they can get a month taken off of their sentence. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Nothing too, bad about that. So they all kind of wind up leaving off, and we, excuse me, they all go off, and Tyson comes to Richie, the guy Richie, and he goes, "Hey man, you told me something on the bus. Apparently Richie had some sort of proposition for Tyson, and it was something about a treasure, safe, if you will, that's hidden throughout the house. The woman Margaret had told them briefly that there was rumors of hidden passages and all this stuff, but they never discovered any. Well, Richie says, I got the blueprints, and it's real, so they decide that they're going to go searching for this treasure, this safe full of money that nobody's ever discovered. And nothing too much happens. There's no real motivation. I mean, we don't get to know any of these characters. I'm telling you what they've done, but throughout the film we never know anything about them. So it's hard to feel any sort of terror, empathy, dread when you just don't care. None of these people, it seems, have really kind of changed their ways. I mean, I guess you can maybe make an argument for Kira, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. Anyway, the movie goes on, and we start getting our killer coming out, and he starts taking out people one by one as he first gets Richie, I believe. Yeah. Shit, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, Richie's the first one to go. Our killer has a hook on a chain that he uses to kill everybody. Nothing too terribly exciting, nothing scary. Our killer, Kane, he never speaks throughout the whole movie until about the last, at the hour 10-minute mark. He finally says his first line of, I see it. That's all he says. He yells once, and he kind of whispers no, but his first full actual spoken dialogue is, I see it. Anyway, they don't try and even really hide any of the facts of really who Margaret is, because she's barely in the film, and she's the one who led them there. It's sort of obvious that she's the mom. There was nothing, she is Kane's mother, and we've been seeing these flashbacks of Kane in a cage outside, and she's telling him that he's sinful because he looked at some women, in magazines and stuff, and I don't know, there's that whole, sin and Christian angle pushed on you. I don't get it. But there's no jump scares, but it's just sort of strange. There is one scene that's sort of kind of, okay, it was kind of interesting as far as deaths go. Zoe, she wound up stealing a phone, and she's using it throughout a little bit of the movie, and she goes and hides from Kane, and she's fine until it goes off. The phone goes off, and Kane comes back and gets her, puts her against the wall, looks at the phone, looks at her, and just crams it down her throat. Just makes her swallow it, and she suffocates to death. Officer Williams, the guy from the very beginning of the film, turns out that the plot, one of the main plots of the story, was that Margaret set Officer Williams up, her and Kane did, to get revenge. That was it. It was a revenge story. And he gets killed about 40 minutes in the movie. It's an hour, 20-minute movie. So there's no climax to that. There's no epic fight. He comes walking out of a room, and the hook right up under his chin drags him up into the ceiling. He pops off 3 shots, and he crashes back down to the floor. Eyes plucked out. He's dead. Nothing exciting. No scare, really. Just kind of boring. Very bland. Very, very poor. So, we have that going on. Then we have Kira, who gets kidnapped by the killer, and she gets locked up downstairs. Well, she's not killed because of her tattoos. She has religious symbols, a huge cross tatted on her back and a cross necklace. So Cain doesn't kill her because apparently, you know, the cross is the good thing. So that's why he kept the girl alive at the beginning. So, see, Richie died. Michael gets the fuck beat out of him. Zoe swallowed the phone. She died. Let's see. I'm sorry, actually, I have lied. Russell dies. Michael lives. My fault. And this other girl, Melissa, she has a kind of interesting death, I guess. She's a vegetarian, vegan, whatever. And at one point in the film, she's sitting in what they call the atrium. There's a hole in the wall and a dog comes out. Well, she tries to share some food with it and gets interrupted when Michael throws something and the dog runs off. Well, later in the film, as Cain is chasing Melissa and Russell, they're getting chased and they're like, all right, we're going to get out of here. And they're up on like the 7th floor and they get a fire hose. And he's like, all right, we can do this. So Melissa ties it around her. She doesn't want to do it, but he makes her and he starts lowering her down slowly over the atrium, which has a big glass container over it. And then out of nowhere she stops. And then she starts getting pulled back up. And we see Cain just loving it, slowly pulling her up. And he gets her, which kind of doesn't make sense. He pulls her up just close enough, but not close that he can actually grab her. So he's reaching, and he can't get her. And she somehow slips out of the thing, out of the hose, and gets caught with her ankles, and she's dangling upside down, and she calls out the worst line ever that she could have possibly said. Let me go. She says, let me go, and sure enough, Cain lets go, and she plummets down like 7 stories through the glass ceiling of the atrium, hits the floor, breaks her left arm as she crashes into it, and blood starts pouring out, and she's screaming. Well, her friend the dog comes back, licks the blood, looks at her, gets a mean, nasty gnarl on his face, starts barking. Out come 2 more dogs. They eat her. They eat her. So it's full of like that ironic, you know, you got what a guy coming, or just kind of an ironic type thing. I don't know. Nothing good, but nothing great either. Nothing bad. So Kira's down there. She's trapped. Cain won't kill her. Margaret's revealed to be his mom, and she is trying to force Cain to kill her. And he refuses. So she says, you know what? I'll do it. And she gets a gun, and she's taunting, and she walks around, and she's about to do it, but Cain stops her. And he wrestles her, and he puts her down to the ground, and this is when he says, I see it, because she's like, do you see the sin in her eyes? And he goes, I see it. Chucks her against the wall. Her eye gets pierced. Everything about eyes. Apparently the eyes are the window to the soul, this movie's saying, which, okay, it is, but man, they really beat it in your head with him gouging people's eyes out. That's how he sees the sin. He picks their eyes out and saves them in jars. Well, while that's going on, he turns his attention back to Kira, who he hasn't killed yet, but he's shown interest when at one time he was looking at her and he starts kind of touching himself, which thank goodness he gets stopped, because I would hate to see the devil's favorite son get busy, if you know what I mean. So we have Christine and Tyson downstairs, and Tyson starts busting open the jars full of the eyes. Cain runs away. Christine comes in trying to save Kira, and it's funny because they found a room, and when they walk in, it's just covered in money all around the room, and a safe that's wide open. So Tyson found the safe that Richard was talking about. It wasn't a lie, so there's a plot point achieved. Woohoo! Doesn't really matter, because Cain finds Tyson as he hid behind the safe, and he just rams the safe into him countless times, crushing him against the wall and between the safes. So, you know, I guess you gotta take the good with the bad. Again, don't be greedy, I guess is the message of that one. I don't know. The movie ends with Michael saving Kira and Christine. He comes back because he got fucking beat up, and they plunge a pipe into Kane's eye, knock him through a window. He falls down through the atrium, busts through another thing of glass, dies. And Kira, Christine, and Michael walk out. It's the end of the movie. This movie sucked. It was awful. You know, I can't think of a worse opening movie. There's a plot, but it's very thinly veiled. It goes like that, you know, the main point of the movie, which is the revenge on Officer Williams, gets fucking thrown away when he gets killed like nothing. And the redemptive ending of the three of them, you know, Kira says, you know, you didn't have to save us, and all Michael can say is, well, I didn't want to walk out alone. So whatever the hell that meant, this movie blows. If you saw it, I'm sorry. If you haven't seen it, don't waste your time. I give this movie officially a 2 out of 10 because it only showed me one, maybe two good scenes for death that I've never really seen before. So it was those were kind of interesting. But outside of that, it sucks. And it gets an official forgettable stamp. Do not watch this movie. Forget about it. Don't act like it did anything, because it didn't. And it went nowhere. So, tell me what you think, guys. Tell me if you've seen it. Had you not seen it? Did I save you? Am I a little too late? That's why it is the late review after all. Anyway, this is Lonnie saying thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And remember, it's always better late than never. See you guys again.